We just give you thanks, all praise, honor, and esteem for this day, this opportunity to come before you and seek your face. We pray, Allah, as we get into the cultural portion of the study, Abba. We pray, Allah, that you will bless the teacher as well as the participants, that we may get a better understanding of what your language is trying to portray. We pray, Allah, that you bless the understanding of the teachers and the hearers, that we all may grow. Blessed be Yahuwah, Creator of earth. Blessed be the name of Yahuwah, Creator of earth. And blessed who comes in the name of Yahuwah, Creator of earth. Hallelujah. Aman, aman.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, amen, amen. Toda, down, toda. All right, Mr. Bakar, we won't be reading today the language, but we will be talking, having a cultural discussion about a part of what's important in our culture. So we're going to first start off with Bereshit or Genesis chapter 2. Bereshit or Genesis chapter 2. This is very familiar or common text to everyone, but we're going to be starting off with Bereshit or Genesis chapter 2. And start at verse 18, Kanak, if you will, for me. Genesis chapter 2, we're going to be starting with verse 18.
Bereshit, Genesis 2, verse 18. And Yahweh said, it's not good that the man should be alone. I will make and help meet for him. And out of the ground, Yahweh formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto that.
So drop down to verse 21.
And Yahweh caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yahweh had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She should be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and the wife, and were not ashamed.
Okay, so what I want to focus on in the culture portion today is that from the very beginning, we know it said that the Most High breathed into man the breath of life. And as he created man, he said it wasn't good for the man to be alone. There was a helpmeet for all other animals and things that the Most High gave man the authority to name, and which he did. And he realized that there was no help for the man. So therefore he created the woman. And the Most High said, it's not good for man to be alone. Therefore I will make for him a helpmeet. So reason why we're going here is because we see that from the very beginning, one of the most important things that we see happen from the immediate creation of man was created. The breath of life was breathed into him. He was given specific instructions of what and what not to do, and a helpmeet was created for him. So biblically speaking, or Torah, from the Torah speaking culture perspective, we see that the Most High established marriage from the very beginning. So it was not good, and that still goes today. It's not necessarily good for man to be alone. So therefore he created a helpmeet for him. So that term there for help is azar. So azar means to help, to aid, and to make safe. To help, to aid, and to make safe. So my reason for going here today is because some of us are already married, some of us aren't married, but regardless of if we are or aren't married, this still culture portion still applies to us all, because in order for marriages to be successful, we need to understand the institution of marriage from the very beginning and the order of the culture that the Most High has established, how it is supposed to function and the purpose of it, and what are we looking for when we're looking for marriage, right? So it says, it's not good for him to be alone. He created for him a czar, or a help. Again, that is to aid, to make safe, and to help, okay? Meaning there was something that he gave the man specific instructions to do, and the woman in which he created for man was supposed to aid the man as well as make the man safe in his daily goings and his daily doings. They were supposed to do it together, all right? So one thing is that for men, if a man is going to be married, he needs to have some type of direction of where he's going in Yah, so that he will also, when he takes a wife, know what he needs to look for in a wife, so that he will know how to pick a wife that will be suitable and will be able to help him in his journey and not hinder him in his journey. And vice versa, a woman needs to be preparing herself, and the way she prepares herself and by the things that she shows within her ruach, by the way she lives, by the way she is seen or viewed in the community, would also say what type husband would select her based upon her attributes of righteousness and the skill sets that she have, that she would be sought after to be a helpmeet for someone, because they could see her as a help unto them. So I'm not going to get every scripture today, but we know that it says in the book of Mishlei of Proverbs that a woman is a crown unto her husband, meaning that a woman is going to be a jewel unto her husband. So my point here today is to try to re-show the beauty of marriage as it was instituted from the very beginning, because in today's society, you have some people, and I've heard children, based upon seeing what their parents have went through or are going through, say, I never want to be married. So that shouldn't even be a term that is heard, but it's heard because people are looking at marriages and all they see is struggle, pain, and hurt when they see marriages. So now you have some children saying, I don't never want to be married. I don't want that, because we have made marriage, or man has made marriage something that is not honorable, or something that is not a beautiful or yafah picture to the world. Okay. So, but when we look at it from Yah's perspective and what Yah has established in the culture, a Hebrew Israelite should be one that views marriage as an honorable thing, as a beautiful picture. But we must first understand how we are to function in a marriage. What is our roles, responsibilities in a marriage? What is a woman supposed to do? What is a man supposed to do? We won't get into all of that today. We're just touching on a brief portion of marriage right now, just pointing out how important it is to our culture and how our marriages actually represents or reflects our relationship with the Most High also. And our marriages should be bringing others to the Most High by the way we operate in marriage, showing that unity or that oneness, which also would show the oneness between man with the Most High, okay? That oneness, all right? So for a moment, let me just pull up my screen share for a moment. I'm only going to share it for one purpose only for the day. Give me one moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the word here for bride. All right. Why is it crooked like that? Sleek out one moment. I don't know why it was crooked. All right. Can y'all see my screen? I can't see the screen. So if somebody can just unmute your mic and let me know, is my screen being seen? Okay. Toda. All right. So we have here what we commonly heard as a bride, right? So the word here, bride, is from H3618, which is kala, which is H3634, a bride, as if perfect, hence a son's wife, bride, or daughter-in-law, or spouse. So to let you know, this word is associated with a woman that is a bride, a woman that is the son's wife, or a woman that is a daughter-in-law, or a woman that's a spouse. But also it says as if perfect. Why as if perfect? This 3618 is the word that we're looking at now, kalal, or kala, which comes from the root H3634. And so what we understand is the root words give us a more informative outlook of what the word actually means and the function of this bride, right? So we have kala, and then we have here kalal, which is the primitive root to complete, make perfect. So what we see is the word for bride, which is kala, is a woman that's a bride, a spouse, or a daughter-in-law, right, or a bride. And it says to make perfect, which comes from the root word kalal, which is to complete or make perfect. So what we see here is that a woman is supposed to, when she is a bride, adorned for a man, she is to complete him. She is to make him perfect. That is the reason why I said the woman come forth from man and was the rib of the man. So they're supposed to be joined together and be one. And the woman, when she's joined to this man, is supposed to complete the man and make the man perfect. So the issue with marriage today is too many people have a vision of the world's way definition of marriage and a way marriage is supposed to function. And if you don't have this, if my husband ain't doing this, if he's not doing that, then he's not a good husband. When in actuality, if your husband is in Yah, you're supposed to, as a wife, know that when I get with a husband, my role and my function is to be joined to this man to make him complete, to make him better. The things that he is good in, I see where he can be better if I can help him with this, that, and the other. I can help him be more organized. I can help him be more complete. I can help him, like y'all seen the other week when y'all gave my Isha credit, and I thank y'all for encouraging her when she put the PowerPoint presentation together. That's not my necessary skill set. You know, so she put that presentation together, which as I'm delivering the message, it made the message even better because she completed that function for me by having a lesson already well put together where we can present it to those who are very new with a whole bunch of research. So a Isha or a Kalal is supposed to come together and complete the man because she's supposed to be his help. The issue with this is that Hebrews or Israelites today are not accustomed to the culture of Israel. It's not accustomed to the culture of Yah. So marriage is a very important institution that was instituted from the very beginning with the first man and woman, which we call Adam and Hawa, Adam and Eve. So a woman is created to be a nazar or an help unto the man per culture of the Most High Yah when he left to his people, not to be a burden, not to be someone that causes issues or drama, but someone that completes the man and makes him perfect. And a man also must have a willingness to be able to accept and understand that the function of my wife is to help me. Therefore, if she's helping me be better, I can't just tell her to be quiet, hush, or I don't want to. If it is something that you know you are lacking in and she's coming and shining light to your shortcomings or your faults, she is trying to help you be better. So we collectively are supposed to make each other better when we're joined together in Yah, all right? So I just want to go there, and it says, a man is supposed to cleave unto his wife, and they're to be one flesh. So jump to Hebrews real quick, Kanak, y'all. Hebrews chapter 13. All right. 13 verse 4, Don.
Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers Elohim will judge.
So it said, marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers Elohim will judge. So we see here that in the Brit Kadashah, which is commonly called the New Testament, it is saying that marriage is honorable in all and the bed is undefiled, meaning that when husband and wife are joined together as one, the bed is not defiled. How is the bed defiled? When there's fornication or when there's sexual activity and things that are taking place whenever people are not married. Hence fornication and lasciviousness of things that go on between man and woman that should not take place except being married. Outside of being married, any of those activities with a man and a woman that have not come in covenant together to be akkad, that is fornication. And it says adulterers and fornicators, the Most High shall judge. So marriage is supposed to be honorable. It's a beautiful thing. It's not only for the relations part of the sexual relations, but it's the whole overall picture of the scope of marriage. The whole thing is supposed to be beautiful. And that's the word of the Most High, it's honorable. There is no dishonor in marriage if marriage is actually executed according to the word of the Most High with the understanding of the purpose and the function of marriage from each party understanding and knowing their function and purpose in the marriage and their purpose and function from the Most High and to the Most High, all right? So anything outside of that. And so now we have people now that they are what they call sampling, meaning, well, I'm going to see if this will work out. So for a time, we're going to be together just to see if we're compatible. And they do everything under the sun that's not supposed to be done except for with married couples. So that is not a way of actually entering into marriage by sitting around being fornicators, promiscuous, and definitely not adultery. You know, you have some people that say, well, my marriage ain't working, so they're dealing with someone else and they're committing adultery. Now they divorce someone and want to go and marry this person who they've been committing adultery with, as if the Most High is going to bless that. That's out of order according to the Most High. So it says, marriage is honorable in all, but the bed undefiled, right? So we must return the honor back to marriage by first understanding that when it was instituted or established from the very beginning, the Most High had created it honorable with a specific purpose, that the man was not alone, that he had a helpmeet. And I will tell you, a lot of us right now would know that this walk can be a very lonely walk sometimes, especially when you're the only one. But if you have a Mishpachah Knesset to fellowship with, it helps a whole lot. But it truly does help you in your walk when you have that one person that's joined to you, and at least you and your household can serve Yah together by having conversations about the Most High together. It doesn't make you feel as alienated or alone or by myself. Even if nobody else is with you, if you're unified together under the Ruach of Yah, according to the Torah, with the understanding of what a marriage is, that is honorable, that is beautiful, and it helps you with your walk. It helps you with your walk, all right? So let's move forward. Or well, we're gonna move back to the Torah for a moment. Let's go to the book of Bereshit 24. Bereshit 24. And I'm gonna start getting to the reason or the purpose of why we're discussing this today. Bereshit chapter 24, Kana, and let's start at about verse 4, Shaward. We're not gonna read all of it. This is gonna be Abraham sending his servant. Bereshit, again, for those who are not familiar with the Hebrew, is Genesis. So we're going back to Genesis, which is the beginning. Bereshit chapter 24, and this is Abraham sending his servant to find a bride or Isha for his son. All right. So we're gonna jump right to verse 4. Kanaka, give me that. Bereshit of Genesis 24. We'll start at verse 3. Start at verse 3.
And I will make you swear by Yah, the Elohim of heaven, and Elohim of the earth, that you should not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. But you shall go into my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. And the servant said unto him, peradventure the woman will not be willing to follow me unto this land.
Okay, so here's another thing I want us to look at culturally. So we see here that this is the father that is now sending his servant to a specific land or specific people to select a wife for his son. Meaning the son didn't just run out and just try to find someone, but the father sent his servant, whose name was Eleazar, which is El is my help, or help of El, right? So he sent him to find a wife or a bride to complete his son. And we know that Abraham had a lot going on. Abraham is the father of our faith. So therefore his son was going to be the one that was going to carry things on. So he definitely needed a strong helpmeet to be with him, but his father sent him to a specific land. We're not going to read all the text here now because you can read the rest of it on your own reading time. But Abraham knew the lands that he traveled through. He knew how the Most High brought him from the land of his father and took him and established him someplace. Because as we covered last week, his father's land was into a whole bunch of adultery. So the not adultery, idolatry. So the Most High moved Abraham from being in his father's house. Then Abraham went back to that land, brought his father out of that land, and established his father in another land after he had his father moved away from idolatry, right? So now that his father is now no longer an idolater, and now in the land which Abraham led him to bring him out from that Nimrod worship and following, he's now sending his servant back to the land of his kindred to find a wife for his son, meaning I know something about the women there. Do not take any of these women from here, but go there to find someone for my ben or for my son. Drop to verse 11, Panat. So real quick, the point I'm bringing out is culturally, and what people don't want to hear today, and the reason why sometimes there are issues, people don't necessarily want their parents or their elders, mores, imams, well, imams and elders, when I use the term elders, that's the elders as well as the imams, they don't actually receive counsel or the blessings of the elders of the community that may be able to keep us from making a mistake or entering into a covenant that could be a bad situation. So, but here, whenever the son or daughter was in the father's house, the father would send for someone or would even accept the offering of someone that sent their daughter to their home to inquire of their daughter. All right. So now drop to verse 11, Panat.
And he made his camels to kneel down without the city by a well of water at the time of the evening. even the time that women go out to draw water. And he said, y'all him of my master Abraham.
So who normally went out to draw water? I just want to highlight that real quick. So at the time, so this servant, he's now at the well at the time when the women come to draw water. So the way we have today, as when most people think that women don't do anything physical, the women actually went to draw water. Drawing water is a heavy task to do. So he's at the well at the time when women come to draw water. And something that you can also be mindful of to know that women would go to the well to draw water is we remember that the way that Moses found his wife was when he went to a place where women was drawing water and he defended these women. Do want to put everything into context because there's a whole lot we have to tear down to make our marriages successful, all right? So continue on, Kanak.
And he said, y'all him of my master Abraham. I pray you, send me good speed this day and show kindness unto my master Abraham. Behold, I stand here by a well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city come out to draw water.
Okay, so we're not going to get all of it. So what I want to establish is, so now the servant went to the place where his master had sent him to go. He is sitting by the well where women come to draw water, and he now does what? He sought the face of Yah. He prayed to the Most High and asked the Most High to present before me the right woman for my master's son. So there was also prayer that went into the selection of this woman, and he inquired of Yah, and then he asked for specific things to be shown him in this woman so that he would know this is the right woman that I'm supposed to select. So to summarize the story, so of course we know this woman came, and the things that this servant prayed to the Most High, this woman, actually all the things that he prayed, the Most High had it play forth in his sight from this particular woman that he's now going to take back to his master. Okay, so basically what we're looking at is the father sent. So the father wanted it's time for my husband to have it's time for my son to have a wife. So the father sent, the servant went, the servant actually petitioned the Most High and asked for him to reveal the proper woman that I'm to take back that's going to be worthy of my master's son. All right. So of course we know that he came, and the damsel was Rebecca that was at the well that was drawing the water. She took him back into her family's house. They sat down, they talked, they had communication. He explained to them that Abraham sent him to get a wife. There was a conversation that took place, and at that moment, an agreement was made. But they also asked the young woman if she wanted to go. The young woman actually, because the father kept saying, well, stay longer. And the woman said, if I'm to go, let me go into my master. So she now understands, and she herself is also willing to go with this man to meet her new Ish, which she has never met before. So where am I going with this? There's a question that we all should ask, and we've all asked commonly, and we're going to answer it scripturally from a couple of perspectives, right? So how long does it take for a man and a woman to enter into a marriage covenant? Is it immediately? Is it love at first sight? Should there be a time period? You know, that answer cannot necessarily be answered for every scenario. Well, it can be, but it's not one answer for every scenario. Each scenario could be different, right? Now, there's wisdom that I will share today, is that we have to be very careful today, because back then people were more full of the Ruach, and Yah was dealing with them differently than he's dealing with a lot of us that's now returning. There's some of us that are returning to Yah, that there's some men that still do not know how to be a husband. There's some women that still do not know how to be a wife, even though they're proclaiming Israelite. Even though they're proclaiming Hebrew, they still are not yet fit to be. So there should be some time within there. But this particular instance, what we're seeing scripturally is he was sent to this house. The Most High revealed. So if the Ruach reveals something, and we have some of the elders that can give you testimonies of how quick their marriage was, and they've been married now some 27 years, some 40 years. So there's been those elders that's amongst us that their marriages happen very quickly, because for one, they were raised in a generation where marriage was still more honorable than the generation we're living in now. So where you have people that's frowning upon marriage and everybody just wanting to be loose and doing all this fornication, people don't even value marriage anymore. But back in our elders' time, when they were married, when they were being married, that was something that they were still all at that time raised to be husband and wives. Even if they didn't fully know Torah, they still knew better than adultery and fornication. They knew that if before we do this thing, I need to be married. And they knew that a husband was to provide for the house and a woman was to help it out. They had a stronger foundation than what our children have today, and even some of us have today in reference to what marriage is. So a lot of marriage unions happen very quickly. And as we can see here, this is one marriage union that happened very quickly because she submitted. She never even met the man, and now she's going away to be married to someone who she never met. Why? Because his father sent to her house, and her house agreed to the covenantal agreement. So there was a covenant made and a betrothal, and now she's going back to be with this man almost immediately. All right. So drop down on Panakia to verse, for the sake of time, drop down to verse 4, let me see, 24. Drop to verse 62. So now she's going back with them. Now drop down to verse 62.
And Isaac came from the way of the well of the high road, for he dwelt in the south country. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at eventide. And he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. When she had said unto the servant, what man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, it is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death.
Hallelujah. So here's the timeline of this. This woman has never met this man. She's already entered into covenant or agreement because she agreed to leave her father's house to go and be this man's wife. She now is riding when the servant is bringing her back. She now sees him because he's now in the field doing his time of meditation. And she said, who is this? And the servant said, that is your master. And her eyes lighted up. She covered herself. She humbled herself. She put her covering on to be presented before this man. And it says, and the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. So now the servant is now telling Isaac, a Yitzhak, what he's done. Your father sent me away to come back with you, a bride, someone that's going to complete you. Here she is. This is the woman. I prayed to the Most High. The Most High told me this is the woman, because everything that I asked him, he showed me the woman according to my prayer that I was to bring to you at your father's request. And the Most High sent me this woman to give unto you. So the servant explained to Yitzhak and to Isaac what he had done. And Isaac took her into his mother Sarah's tent after her death, and he was comforted, and he took her and she became his wife. So it was an immediate marriage. But because at this time, they were being trained up to be husbands and wives. That was something that was encouraged at that time. And there were values that was instilled into them as to what a husband and wife should be. So you're preparing to be a husband as a young man. You're preparing to be an Isha or a wife as a young woman. So, and she came and she comforted him during the time of his mother's death. And also it said he took her and she became his wife, meaning they went into the tent of meeting, not the tent of meeting as far as the set apart Mishkan tent of meeting, but the tent where husband and wife would go to consummate a marriage, and they consummated their marriage by way of, as the world would say, by sexual intercourse. So they joined together in the union of marriage, but the covenant was already made. So it's a difference in just laying with someone and saying you married versus having a covenantal agreement first with vows in place that if we do this, we are man and wife. There's no turning back. You are my wife, because we can't do this except it before the purpose of marriage. So that covenant was already established between the families of Abraham and Rebekah's family. So so they came and she became his I mean, Sarah, Rebecca's family, and she became his wife. All right, so let's jump from there, Aki. Let's jump from there. We're going to go to the book of Genesis 27. Let's go to the book of Bereshit, chapter 27, just for a couple of precepts. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 27, and jump right to verse 46. Bereshit 27, and jump right to 46.
And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? Excuse me.
Go on 28. 28, one of them.
And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, you should not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take you a wife from thence, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother.
Okay, so what we see here also is, so now these two that was brought together, Rebecca and Yitzhak, or Rebecca and Isaac, she's now saying she's drawn to the point of death. We're getting older, about to the point of leaving here. But what would I do if my son take a daughter of these women that is in this land? I definitely don't want my son to marry anyone of this land. Please don't allow that to happen, for him to take one of these wicked, vile women. So Isaac told Jacob and Jacob, and he blessed him with a charge to go into Bethuel, to his mother's father's house, to take a wife of her people. Go to your mother's father's house to take a wife of the people, sending his son back to the same house in which he received a kalal, or bride, from one that completed him. So he's now giving his son the same instructions to go back to that same house to actually receive of his mother's house, someone of that house, of that lineage, because we know them. They are good women there. Okay, so you go and you take a wife of them. Don't take a wife of this land. So again, what are we seeing here? We're seeing that culturally, the fathers and the mothers would have a lot of suggestion, or either demand or commandment, in who a son or daughter was to marry culturally. And today we look at it like, oh, that's what? Now my mom ain't gonna pick about it for me. My dad ain't gonna pick about it for me. Man, I would have loved for my mother to have picked my wife for me before I made so many mistakes in life before coming to Yah. But I praise the Most High that He allowed my mother, before she passed, to, for the first time ever, tell me, I like her. I said, what, Mom? She's sitting there, she could barely talk after that cancer surgery, and she's sitting in her rocking chair. I like her. I said, what? My mom gave me the seal of approval on the woman which I presented before her. She gave me her blessing before she passed, that this is the woman that I like for you. Hallelujah. Had something like that happened way early in life, I would have not made so many mistakes. I'm transparent with mine. I wouldn't have went through what I went through. And so then I even seen more so myself, the beauty of the scripture that's being fulfilled before my own eyes, that I got the seal and the approval from my mother, that she approved of my wife. Hallelujah. So, and so that also, even though my heart was already towards my wife, and that's why I had her coming and staying and dwelling in my mother's house. So just so y'all know, I'm being a little transparent. My wife, when she would travel from Virginia, didn't come and stay at my house. She came and stayed and dwelt in my mother's house with my mother and father, for them to get to meet her, for them to see what they thought of her. And so praise be to Yah, we're married today. Hallelujah. But back to the text. So it says he sent him to the house of his mother's family to take a wife. All right. So we're going to drop from that. So we still see here that the father still had, so Isaac is now following the same pretty much pattern of his father, right? So for the sake of time, let's jump to 29. We're gonna kind of breeze through this one. I'm gonna read for myself on this one. 29:1, Genesis 29:1. So we see in all these lineages of how, first of all, two wives is picked, Now the son is being sent. So one wife was brought to him. Now the son is being sent back to pick his own wife or to go to a place where he can pick a wife, but from the same household. Then Yaakov went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east and looked, and behold, a well in the field. And lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it, for out of the well, they watered the flocks. So again, he's now going to a well, you know, and Yaakov said unto them, my brethren, whence be ye? And they said, of Haran. And he said unto them, know ye Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, we know him. So he's now going into this land. He's now at this well. He's seen some brethren. He asked them where they're from. Who are you? They tell him. So now he's hearing some names that's familiar with whom he's supposed to be going into their home or to their house. So I'm dropping down just a little bit for the sake of time. Verse 9. And while he yet spake with them, Rachel, most people say Rachel, but it's Rachel, came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. Again, the woman was doing what? Keeping sheep. That's physical work. So the woman came and she was keeping her father's sheep. And it came to pass when Yaakov saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Yaakov went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Yaakov kissed Rachel and lifted his voice and wept. And Yaakov told Rachel that he was her father's brother and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. So he was like, we family, like you my people. We of the same people. We of the same nation. Hallelujah. So she went back and she ran and she told her family, hey, here's someone of our kindred. Here's someone of our nation that has come here once again. Verse 14. And Laban said to him, surely thou art my bone and art my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said unto Yaakov, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for nothing? So are you going to just live here and serve me for nothing? Tell me, what shall your wages be? So again, I know a lot of times people don't like to use the term property. They don't like to use the term being sold, but he said, surely you're not going to serve me for nothing. So what would your wages be? What would you have of me if you're going to come here to serve me? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Yaakov loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. So it said he loved her. He just met her. He just seen her. But for one, what he seen that she was a responsible young woman. She was already doing things that some women probably don't want to do. Some women were harlots and just going to be somewhere doing their harlotry. But this woman was tending to her father's sheep, coming to the well where the water was for the animals to be fed. He rolled back the stone so that she could do this, get them the water. So he's seeing part of her mannerism, and within him already, his ruach was drawn into her, right? Immediately. However, he did not marry her until 7 years later. But what the point I'm looking at is, so we have here now a father which is going to give his daughter for a wage unto a man that's going to serve him, who he feels is honorable because he also understands the makeup or the genealogy of this man and who his family is. So he's going to be willing to give his daughter in marriage to him for service. But Yaakov put the timeline on it, not Laban. Laban said, Yaakov said, I'll serve you 7 years for her. So what this is saying is, if there is a man that truly does desire a woman, my sisters, I will want you to know is that you shouldn't have to feel rushed either. You should have an opportunity to get to know said man. There is what's called a betrothal period. A betrothal period is when 2 people are promised to each other, but they do not actually consummate the marriage yet. They have time to go through and grow, get familiar with each other, and get accustomed to one another, make some corrections that need to be made, prepare the home, get dowry right, whatever it may be. There's other things that can take place to give time to prepare for this marriage. But what Yaakov or Jacob did was he labored for her for 7 years. Now, we're not going to get the whole story now, but we know it was a total of 14 years. But if a man truly desires a woman, one thing for my sisters in Israel that I want you to realize also, there are some men that will be, they're so quick trying to find a woman that they're not even seeking Yah. Because the moment that you go to them, or they, and when I say to them, I mean it's one of you single sisters, and you just don't seem to bite so early, but you kind of listen and you might have a little interest, but you ain't gonna make it seem like I'm just so available. I'm not desperate. If that joker can't wait a week and he's already in somebody else's inbox and he's already in somebody else's face, then maybe he needs to be trained too to learn how to seek a wife, how to be patient, and how to wait for his wife, or to even ask if Yah is sending this person, or did Yah direct me to this person? Because you can't just be moving so sporadically. I'm gonna give y'all another little transparent portion of ours. My Isha shamed me when I finally got bold enough to approach her. I was so embarrassed that there's only a couple of people on this line that really know the story, and I shared it with Yohanan and his Isha for the first time, and I really didn't share it. But, you know, of course, my direct brothers and her direct sisters know. But yeah, it was kind of like I got dissed. I felt so ashamed. I didn't know how to approach again. But guess what? I didn't approach anybody after. I sat and I sat and I sat and I prayed and I waited. And I'm like, but I thought the Most High directed me this way. I thought for sure this is what I was seeing. And eventually we came back together, or we came together because my Isha now reached out to me at a time when I was in need, when I was going through some things with my sick parents. So she was aware of what was going on in my life, but she did not just take the bait so quick. I had to work for it. There's nothing wrong with that, ladies. You are a value, you are a crown, you are a jewel. And if a man truly, sincerely loves you, he will patiently wait for you also, for you to be ready, because I will always say to my sisters, and to my sisters specifically, I always want my sister to be very careful before joining with a man, because once you join with a man, he becomes your covering. He becomes your authority. That now takes my covering from the single sisters that's amongst us. I really no longer can be a covering to you, because your husband now becomes your authority. So one thing you can do before going into it is say, if we ever have issues, can we go before Morey Samak and the elders when we have issues so they can hear our matter? Establish that up front. Because if not, once you become that man's wife, he is not authority, and you may not even be able to ask me for any advice if that man tells you not to ask Samak anything. If you ask me and I found out that your husband said, don't ask me anything, and I don't want you to give my wife any advice, I will not teach a married woman whose husband tells her she cannot be a part of the assembly. I won't do it, because I'm not going to break the culture of Torah. But it's my job to try to teach with as much visual effect as I possibly can, and with much information as I possibly can for both man and woman alike, specifically more so the woman, because once you're in, that man is your authority. You belong to him. So you don't want to move too quick, or you don't want to move without counsel, I shall say, and you definitely don't want to move without prayer in Yah. So what we've shown today was, we've shown that, for one, marriage can happen just like that. If the Ruach is moving and the Ruach is directing, it can be as soon as a covenant is made. You might not have met the person. You might just, as they say, love at first sight. We see that Raquel, when she came before Yaakov or Yaquab, he immediately loved her and was willing to work 7 years for her, and did so. So he labored for her for 7 years. Of course, we know about the trick that took place, but then he worked 7 more years. So he worked a total of 14 years for her, but he fulfilled the 7 years as according to their promise. He received her and still had to work another 7 years for that covenantal agreement. And so that also shows you the value that the father can place on his daughter, which allowed him to put 7 more years of service for his daughter. And that man who loved her labored for that. So what I hope that I'm showing now is the beauty of marriage, the beauty of love, and what we should look for in someone, and the timing. The timing is going to really be on Yah. You have to pray to the Most High and ask the Most High. But through precepts, through wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, we can see that through the scriptures, the fathers sent. The mothers asked the fathers to send. People approach other men, and covenants or agreements was made between the families. Whenever a father was not still present, the brother, the older uncle, or the older cousin, as we know about Hadassah, which is commonly called Esther, with Mordecai. We see that before she was married, Mordecai had to be one that was willing to let her go to be received of the king, and Mordecai gave her instructions before entering into that union. So there is safety in the multitude of counsel according to the scripture. So there's not really a timeline on how soon or how long, but I will say that we should take time to get to know someone and at least go through our elders and our mores, the shepherds of the community, to ask questions of people before even considering the union, to make sure that this person is who they say they are to the best of our knowledge and ability. For example, people know that, well, some of you don't know because you haven't known me this long, but there are those that can tell you for the past 25 years, they know Samak has been in this walk. But there's some on this line can tell you that, but I can tell you, I don't know about the 25 years, but I can tell you for the past 12 years, I know for sure that Samak has been on this walk, and I know Samak has kept every Sabbath. If he's ever missed, I can't even recall what he missed for sick. Now, if he went to another assembly to teach somewhere else or something like that, then, but we know we can vouch for Samak. We know how Samak respects his elders. We know how Samak loves his brothers and sisters. We believe that if you enter into union with Samak, you might be okay. And praise be to the Most High, just true testimony. If it wasn't for some of my loving sisters, my Isha still would never be, probably would be my Isha. She would still be on dissing me right now to this very day. But because some of my sisters spoke on my behalf, hallelujah, because some of my sisters spoke on my behalf, because of some of the nonsense that goes on in communities, my sisters had to let my Isha know before she was my Isha, like, yo, he's just a sincere person that loves the Most High, and we think he will be good for you. It's okay for you to let him reach out. It's okay for you to reach out to him. It's okay for y'all to communicate to see if y'all want to join in the union of marriage. So don't be quick to rush with someone that's not known or is not vetted by the community, by the elders, because that's a lot of mistakes that are made also. So in regards, and then the question regarding how long, the Ruach will lead. There's some of the older brothers as well as some of the younger brothers and sisters can tell you that their marriage happened immediately almost. The Most High let them know this is what it was. And sometimes you would definitely know, but please do not allow the feeling of loneliness and the desires of flesh to rush you into something, making you feel as if it's the Most High. When I sought my Isha, or when I didn't even start seeking her of my own, I really believe the Most High had me start to seek her, because she just got placed in my sight all the time to the point where she started coming in my dreams. But I knew her already from her being a sister that's been in the walk for a long time alone, that I've seen from feast to feast, from year to year, doing the best that I, from the limited knowledge that I knew of her, and from those in the community that knew her, they could speak of her and who she was in Yah. So there's also a certain level of background check that does need to be done before rushing into a situation. And then there will be some time where there may not be a background check. It will be solely upon the Ruach, but you have to know and still walk through a certain process by at least bringing someone before the elders to meet the elders, for us to vet them and do our best to try to find out who this brother or sister really is before you join in union with them. So with that, that's our culture portion. As it says in the book of Hebrews, marriage is honorable in all, the bed is undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers, the Most High will judge. And from the very beginning, the Most High instituted marriage at the very beginning of our Torah, because this is a very important part of our culture, and marriage is honorable in all. And if marriage is actually taught properly, if we all understand our role, purpose, function to one another, and first and foremost to the Creator and what he expects for us and what we're designed and created to do, marriage is such a beautiful thing. But the picture gets more and more beautiful over time as we learn more and more of the Creator. So with that, I give all praise, honor, and esteem to the Most High. And just know this was a quick snippet of marriage from our cultural perspective. But anyone that is actually considering marriage, desires to be married, please reach out to me and I'll set up counsel to speak with you in regards to marriage and preparing you for marriage and helping you seek someone. If there's someone already on your radar that I can actually look to, me and the elders, and we can try to help you and pray to Yah for you as well as to how, should I enter into a marriage covenant with this individual, or am I even ready for marriage at this time? Because again, marriage is honorable and all, and the Most High really does not like divorce. So he really wants us to be married that one time, and we're supposed to be able to endure the rest of our life together. But the reason why there are divorce and things like that, because marriage has not really been taught properly from the cultural perspective, and we're still doing a lot of things based upon the modern definition or the modern appearance of marriage. So with that, I pray and hope that's been somewhat edifying. I know it was a lot of information in a short period of time, but that's our culture portion for this moment. I give all praise, honor, esteem to the Most High, Barak, his Kodash name, and I yield the floor to Zaken Yakwa.
Hallel, yeah, Hallel, yeah. Tob lesson, more